Minnesota officials say they are trying to find some common ground on immigration enforcement in the state, but anti-ICE protesters are still demanding the feds get out of the Twin Cities after 2 deadly shootings involving federal agents in Minneapolis this month. Reporter Asher Red is joining us from Minneapolis. Asher, Mayor Jacob Fry says he had a productive meeting with so-called border czar Tom Homan on Tuesday.
Well, Sabira, Mayor Fry also made it very clear that the city will not be enforcing federal immigration law, and that seemed to have caught President Trump's attention because this morning the president posted to Truth Social saying, quote, "Surprisingly, Mayor Jacob Fry just stated that Minneapolis does not and will not enforce federal immigration laws. This is after having had a very good conversation with Tom Homan. Could somebody in his inner sanctum please explain that this statement is a very serious violation of the law and that he is playing with fire?" Now, Mayor Fry responded directly to Trump on X shortly after saying, quote, "The job of our police is to keep people safe, not enforce federal immigration laws. I want them preventing homicides, not hunting down a working dad who contributes to Minneapolis and is from Ecuador." He goes on to say that everyone should feel safe calling 911. Meanwhile, dozens of protesters gathered outside Governor Tim Walz's office at the state capitol building, demanding that the governor do his job to get ICE out of the state. Walz and other Democrats in the state, like Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, have strongly opposed Trump's immigration policies. And at a town hall meeting last night, a man approached Omar from his front row seat and attacked her with an unknown liquid in a syringe. Security tackled that man, who Minneapolis police later identified as 55-year-old Anthony James Kazmierczak. He's been charged with third-degree assault, and Omar's staff begged her to leave, but she refused and kept going anyways.
No, we will continue. No. You need to go. No, we will continue. I'm not going to get away with it.
And we're also getting a couple of updates from Homeland Security and the Justice Department. DHS has confirmed that the 2 federal agents involved in the deadly shooting of Alex Pretti here in Minneapolis on Saturday have been placed on administrative leave. And the Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's in Minneapolis right now, says that the federal agents have arrested 16 people who they say have obstructed, resisted, or assaulted law enforcement.
Hearings in St. Paul and then Minneapolis, both related to Operation Metro Surge.
The first in St. Paul for the case against Kristi Noem brought by Minnesota's AG. The other involving evidence in Saturday's shooting that was in Minneapolis this afternoon. That's where we find Fox 9's Mary McGuire. And so, Mary, there were 2 hearings. Kind of explain what the difference is and what's happening in each of them.
And Kelsey, like you mentioned, 2 federal court hearings on either side of the river, both involving Operation Metro Surge. The first of those hearings was here in Minneapolis after the state sued the federal government to end immigration enforcement surge immediately. Now, that suit was filed by Attorney General Keith Ellison and the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Attorneys for the state asked the court to issue a temporary restraining order calling what's happening a federal occupation of more than 3,000 masked agents that has led to racial profiling, illegal detentions, and warrantless entries. They called the operation a violation of the 10th Amendment, which grants the state equal sovereignty over local issues. For its part, the DOJ has called the lawsuit frivolous, and after that court hearing, we heard from the AG.
I stand here with Renee Good in my heart and in my mind, and with Alex Pretti in my heart, in my mind, and their families. Together with other people who have suffered racial profiling, unfair detention, together with every business person whose business has been shuttered because of this, on behalf of every student and every parent who can't get their kids to school because they are afraid of the federal government.
Now, the next hearing involved the preservation of evidence following the shooting of Alex Pretti on Saturday morning. The BCA, which typically investigates all law enforcement shootings in the state, wanted to investigate that incident, but was denied access to the scene twice by the feds despite having a warrant. Court documents detail the FBI's evidence response team was dispatched to the scene, but they were not able to collect evidence using their normal procedures because of the crowds gathering in the area of 26th and Nicollet that day. We do know that Pretti's firearm and his cell phone were taken into evidence today in court. We also learned that there is body camera footage of the fatal encounter from those agents. Shortly after the shooting, there were widely circulated photos of Pretti's alleged firearm, and the state attorneys raised some serious questions about those photos and the way that the evidence is being preserved. A lawyer for the federal government argued they are preserving evidence in that case anyways and will continue to preserve it as long as the investigation is ongoing. Now, just into our newsroom, we did learn that Judge Menendez in that case here, that initial case in the Minneapolis federal courthouse that was heard today, she is asking the federal government to respond to some of the claims that the state made in court today. They are required to respond by Wednesday, so certainly a developing story here. Reporting live tonight, Mary McGuire, Fox 9.
All right, thank you, Mary. An update tonight from the family from Venezuela living in St. Paul. They were all detained by agents. That family has now returned home after a judge ordered their release.
That judge gave ICE time to produce the warrant to detain the family, but ICE could not do that. You may remember this video taken inside their home. It shows agents coming in the front door and gathering people in the living room. A family friend tells Fox 9 a 12-year-old boy was among those detained and was sent off to Texas at the time. For more on ICE's activity here in Minnesota and the shootings of Renee Good and Alex Pretti and everything else surrounding Operation Metro Surge, go to our website, fox9.com, and the Fox local app.
Civil rights organizations are teaming up in Minneapolis to speak out against the immigration enforcement surge here.
Tim Bloss joining us now to talk about it. And Tim, we are talking about the national leadership of one of these groups.
Absolutely. In fact, the CEO and the president from the League of United Latin American Citizens, or LULAC, they joined the national leaders from the NAACP in Minneapolis to coordinate their opposition to ICE enforcement tactics across the country. Now, the leaders were heading to the site at 26 and Nicollet to pay their respects and take in the atmosphere after the videos of the shooting on Saturday morning that have been shared now worldwide. Alex Pretti was the second person to get shot and killed by federal agents participating in the immigration crackdown in the Twin Cities.
It cannot be rehabilitated. We must abolish ICE for good. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment. I don't know.
Oh my God, he sprayed something on her.
I need a napkin to know.
Oh, this is fake. This is fake. Oh, really?
No, we will.
This doesn't look like it's
You need
fake.
to go get checked.
No, we will continue. These fucking assholes are not going to get away with it.
You need to go get checked. No, you don't know what he's doing.
I'll tell Megan, yeah, this really looks scary to fake. Like the Alex Pretti and Renee Good suit. Yeah, yeah.
She needs to go get checked. I don't know.
That's what they want. Please don't let them have
It's
it.
not about him, Ilhan. It's not about him. It's about your safety. No, he sprayed something on you. You need to go get checked. Yeah, and it smells terrible. Yeah.
We're going to keep talking. Just give me 10 minutes. Just give me 10 minutes. I beg you. Please don't let them have the show. 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 Here is the reality that people like this ugly man don't understand. We are Minnesota strong, and we will stay resilient in the face of whatever they might throw at us.
You were fighting against tyranny, corruption, and state. You were saying, give it your best shot.
Everybody settle down. I'm going to finish my remarks. It is important for me to continue to lead my Democratic colleagues in demanding her resignation.
at all hours of the day from the Whipple Federal Building.
And a new group is trying to be there to help them with transportation home and some phones to contact family. Maury Glover joining us now from the newsroom with a look at what they're seeing. Maury?
Well, Haven Watch was started a couple of weeks ago by a Minnesota mom who took her two sons to bring supplies to demonstrators outside the Whipple Federal Building. They noticed ICE detainees being released without their phones or rides home. So an idea was born.
We're not seeing pepper spray. We're not seeing tear gas. We're not seeing that things mostly anymore, which is nice.
Every day, demonstrators gather outside the Whipple Federal Building to protest ICE's presence in Minnesota. Quit your job! Quit your job! But in the middle of the crowd, there are people wearing orange vests, hoping to provide a haven for recent detainees.
So many of us were sitting at home, doom scrolling, watching it on the news, wanting to make a difference. And this was a way to do that.
Sarah Haroldson is part of Haven Watch, a group of volunteers who keep an eye out for people released from the ICE detention center, often without their phones or winter coats. The volunteers offer them burner phones, a place to warm up, and even rides home, as well as anything else they may need to get back on their feet.
Most people are upset, no matter how long they were in there and why they were taken in. I have had more grown men cry in my car in the last week than anyone should see.
Haven Watch is also collecting donations to help recent detainees with everything from food and car seats to rental assistance. And for Haroldson, the group's mission hits close to home.
I have a 20-year-old son that we adopted from Ethiopia as a baby, and he is a naturalized citizen, and it scares me every day when he is out that they could pick him up and put him in that building based on the color of his skin and nothing else.
Haroldson says while the chaos and confusion caused by Operation Metro Surge can seem overwhelming, if everyone does just a little bit, they can make a big difference.
We want people to know as they come out of that building that we love them, and they are our friends, they are our neighbors, they are our family, and people love them and want to support them.
Now, Haroldson says Haven Watch, which was originally called Safe Havens, needs more volunteer drivers. And if you'd like to help, we'll add a link to our story in the newsroom.
Here we go. Governor Tim Walz visits the memorial at Alex Pretti. It's like 2 weeks ago when he visits the Renee Good memorial. Check this out. This is
not free. You have to work at it, nurture it, protect it, and even sacrifice for it. Stand right over there. Terrence Lee Randolph, March 30th, 1947. December 10th, 2024. Today we remember that freedom is not free. You have to work at it, nurture it, protect it, and even sacrifice for it. May we never forget and always remember our brothers and sisters who have served so that we may enjoy the gift of freedom. So in this moment, we remember and give thanks for their dedication and selfless service to our nation in the cause of our freedom. In this solemn hour, we render them our honor and our gratitude.
Minnesota's federal chief judge threatened to potentially hold the nation's top ICE official in contempt if the agency did not immediately free a man from Ecuador this week.
Fox 9 investigator Paul Bloom has been tracking these cases in federal court. And as Paul tells us tonight, judges say their orders are not being followed.
In his order, Chief Judge Patrick Schultz writes that the administration has failed to comply with dozens of court orders, adding that the court's patience is, quote, at an end.
You guys got very close to a contempt finding today.
On the frozen streets of St. Paul Monday, the Fox 9 investigators tried pressing an ICE official and a pair of United States attorneys about why detained immigrants are not being immediately released as ordered by federal judges.
Why did he stay in custody for 2 more days?
The high-ranking Trump administration officials refused to answer any of our questions as they walked several blocks.
Ms. Lee, how many more resources do you think are needed?
And they aren't providing enough answers in court either, according to multiple federal judges. Minnesota's chief judge, Patrick Schultz, said Monday the government has failed to comply with, quote, dozens of court orders during Operation Metro Surge. The chief judge threatened to hold the nation's top ICE official in contempt of court if they did not release a man from Ecuador by this Friday. The government responded by releasing the man Tuesday afternoon. He was supposed to be given a bond hearing at the Whipple building or outright released nearly a week ago.
Que aún supuestamente está en vigor, en vigencia.
So we are legal, and we was keeping the process with immigration. So we don't know why they come here and trying to get us.
Immigration agents also failed to immediately return this Venezuelan family to Minnesota after a judge ruled they were wrongfully detained at gunpoint in their own home without a valid warrant.
We're scared to stay home, and we're scared even to get outside.
They are now reunited back in their St. Paul house, but the Fox 9 investigators have tracked several cases where the government released detainees only after being threatened with contempt filings. A top lawyer at the U.S. Attorney's Office revealed in court Tuesday it is now taking 4 days to return a detainee to Minnesota, even though they are being shipped out of state in just hours.
How overwhelmed is ICE, sir? We haven't heard from you guys on the ground here.
And again, those officials right there did not answer any of my questions, but in court, other attorneys for the Trump administration admitted they are struggling to keep up with the explosion of habeas filings from people who are challenging their arrests, claiming they are being wrongfully detained, and winning overwhelmingly.
And I want to thank Senator Smith and my colleagues for being here today to stand up for the state of Minnesota, for our nation, and for our Constitution. In the last year, we have too often come to the floor to discuss tragedies in our state. This summer, an assassin killed our friend Melissa Hortman, the former Speaker of the Minnesota House, and her husband, Mark. And we were once again shaken to our core when a mass shooter attacked Annunciation Catholic Church right in the middle of Mass. Children in their first week of school, 2 children murdered, 21 more people injured, including 18 kids. In recent weeks, Minnesota has once again been at the center of America's heartbreak. But we are also at the center of America's courage and hope. We honor Renee Good today. Renee Good, who left behind 3 children, including a 6-year-old, when she was shot and killed by an ICE agent. Her wife said this: kindness radiated out of her. She literally sparkled, and asked everyone to honor her memory by living her values, rejecting hate and choosing compassion. We also honor the memory of Alex Pretti, a VA intensive care nurse who did one of the most selfless jobs people could think of, caring for our veterans, often in their final hours, a man described by his friends and family as a kind-hearted soul. Both Renee and Alex should be alive today. Mr. President, it is not just these horrific killings. The administration, through their surge of thousands of ICE and Border Patrol agents to Minnesota, outnumbering the 10 largest metropolitan police departments combined, in the Twin Cities, outnumbering the sworn officers in the Minneapolis-St. Paul departments by 3-1, has repeatedly violated the constitutional rights of the people of Minnesota. The fact is that anyone who cares about federalism, about freedoms, about liberties should be horrified by what is happening. If you care about the Constitution, I say to our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, you should be horrified, because what is happening in our state has been a violation of the First Amendment, the right to assemble. The Second Amendment, Alex was a lawful gun owner, but he was immediately criticized for that, when in fact the video showed very clearly, because eyes don't lie, that his gun was firmly in its holster and it was taken out by Border Control agents. They've been violating the Fourth Amendment, ramming into people's homes without a judicial warrant. Agents have been demanding, without even reasonable suspicion, that Minnesotans show proof of citizenship, just based on how they look. And this administration is going after the Fifth Amendment, the right to due process. It has denied detainees access to counsel. And as the chief judge in the District of Minnesota, a former clerk to Justice Scalia, and a George Bush appointee has made clear, they have been defying court orders. And I say to our Republican colleagues, if you are a defender of liberty, you must defend it when it counts, not just when it's convenient. Federal immigration agents bashed upon a door and detained a Hmong elder, a U.S. citizen whose mom was one of the most loved nurses that took care of our troops during the Vietnam War. They held him at gunpoint without a warrant, took him out of his home in his underwear with nothing but Crocs on his feet, took him into a car, drove him around for an hour, and then they later discovered they had the wrong guy. And in fact, the guy they were looking for had been in jail all along. We've all seen the photos of the 5-year-old, little Liam, standing there scared in his blue rabbit hat with floppy ears and Spider-Man backpack as agents apprehended him. This administration sent a 2-year-old to Texas. Despite a pending court case, the order was issued, but they didn't want to wait for that. Sent the 2-year-old to Texas when the mom was waiting back in Minnesota. Thanks to the late night work of my staff and several local lawmakers, she's been reunited with her mom. But it should never have come to this. A court case was pending, disregarded. In another instance, a U.S. citizen was forced to the ground, placed in a chokehold, and held at a detention center for hours. He offered multiple times to show his U.S. passport, but was ignored. This has gone so beyond any original reason for federal agents. It has gone well beyond the fraud investigation. That was a good reason to bring people to help. But that's not what this was. Not the 2-year-old, not the 5-year-old, not the Hmong elder. Way beyond apprehending violent offenders. Not the 2-year-old, not the 5-year-old, not the Hmong elder. This has turned into a Kristi Noem and Greg Bavino-driven shock and awe public spectacle meant to intimidate our state. In fact, Pam Bondi, on the same day Alex was killed, sent a letter to the governor of Minnesota saying the administration would remove these 3,000 ICE agents if Minnesota violated the privacy of its citizens by turning over their personal voter data, something Republican Secretary of States in states like Georgia have refused to do. The Justice Department has actually sued 24 states for refusing to turn over this data, including, as I mentioned, Georgia and also New Hampshire. 3 district court judges have dismissed these cases. It is clear that our state's being targeted, but they've tried to get this data in 24 states. Now they'll say, we'll bring out the ICE agents. If only you just give us that data. Mr. President, there are 3,000 federal officers in Minnesota, and I can not state it more unequivocally. ICE must leave Minnesota. Law enforcement has made this clear. They can't do their jobs. They can't do their jobs. They can't investigate burglaries. They can't help on some of complex cases because they're being called to people's homes all the time because of the ICE agents hanging around homes of just regular citizens in parking lots, chasing people down. Local business leaders have come out and said, enough. Police chiefs in our state have joined together. Police chiefs across the nation have joined together and said, we believe in proper police procedures and the rule of law. But the biggest story out of this is the everyday people, the ordinary people doing extraordinary things. They've rallied together, brought food to their neighbors, drove other kids to school, showed up for small businesses, and marching 50,000 strong. I was there. I saw it. 50,000 peaceful marchers in minus 10 below weather. You know, 250 years ago, our nation declared independence from a king. Our nation was born from a deep revulsion to the idea of an illegal occupation, a standing army of British troops literally taking over our streets, demanding to see papers, acting with cruelty, resorting to violence. In those times, newspapers shared what was happening. Well, today, Americans are seeing it firsthand on video. Americans heard Renee Good's final words to the officer who shot her, "I'm not mad at you." They saw Alex spend his final moments trying to help a woman who'd been shoved to the ground. His last words, "Are you okay?" And just as Americans fought for liberty 250 years ago, they're standing up for liberty now. People across the country are speaking out against this cruelty. And, of course, it is good that Bovino was removed. Other people have to be removed too. Kristi Noem shouldn't be in her job anymore. But mostly, we need these ICE agents out of Minnesota. And we hope that happens soon. Border Patrol, they've began that removal, but the ICE agents have to get out of Minnesota. It is a very dangerous situation. I spoke with Alex's parents the next day after we lost him. Through the tears, they talked about what he was like and how they wanted the world to know the truth and how much it hurt him to have senior administrative officials call him a domestic terrorist, call him a would-be assassin. Alex's sister said Alex always wanted to make a difference in this world, and it's devastating that he won't be here to witness the impact that he was making. We must stand up. And so we are asking our colleagues, they know the White House, we've all done our best here, but to tell them it's time for those ICE agents to come home. There must be new leadership in the Department of Homeland Security now, and there must be major reforms to these agencies before this Congress should approve another cent. First, we need to stop these roving bans. This means coordination with state and local law enforcement and no more bounties that encourage immigration officials to detain individuals, even without cause. We need proper training and a code of conduct that includes transparent investigations and meaningful accountability for when agents break the law or violate the Constitution. This also means use of force policies that are the same for local police. Immigration agents, like all law enforcement, should comply with the Fourth Amendment. This bounty system, we've had stories and we have hundreds of cases in our offices right now where people were stopped, a white guy, a Latino. They said to Latino, "Where are you from?" Latino says, "I was born in America." They put him in the car, drive him a few blocks, let him out, or take him to the detention center and then let him go. Bonuses, bounties. The mask should come off and the body camera should go on. And there must be thorough, objective, and independent investigations into these killings. The Justice Department refused to cooperate with local investigators in Minnesota after Renee's death, and over a dozen career prosecutors in Minnesota and Washington resigned rather than take part in a miscarriage of justice. After Alex's killing, the federal government blocked state law enforcement from accessing the crime scene. I know because I got panic calls, because I used to be a prosecutor in the county about what was going on. A federal judge appointed by Donald Trump had to issue an order preventing the federal government from destroying evidence. I'm opposed to this ICE funding bill, and I am very appreciative that people are starting to talk about reforms to this agency. But the money that was passed this summer, $75 billion, making this agency bigger than the FBI, that was wrong. I opposed it, as did my Democratic colleagues. The costs continue to mount. Right now, our federal, state, and local governments are spending an estimated $18 million a week on the surge in Minnesota alone. And what do you got out of it? 2 out of 3 of the shootings resulting in death in Minneapolis, 2 out of 3 were caused by federal agents. I appreciate Senator Schumer, and I appreciate my colleague, Senator Smith, and so many others for saying no to this. And I truly appreciate that a number of our Republican colleagues have started to say that what ICE is doing is wrong. A few have said that Kristi Noem should no longer be in her job. ICE needs to leave Minnesota. It was in 1776 when future First Lady Abigail Adams wrote to her husband, John Adams, describing the retreat of British ships from Boston, saying that their numbers were so large they looked like a forest. But despite their force, it was the determination of those demanding liberty that won that day. For Minnesotans right now, every corner, everywhere, when you drive, really it's not just the city, suburbs, shopping malls, rural areas, they see an ICE agent. There's people that are scared every single day, and it feels like that forest. But out of that forest comes these people of our state that are willing to stand up, citizens that are willing to stand up to help people they may not even know, because they understand what's at stake for the liberties of this country. Mr. President, I yield back. Thank you.
Donald Trump have had conversations this week about taking a new approach to immigration enforcement in the state of Minnesota.
And today, in a one-on-one interview with our Corn Hoggard, the governor discussed a range of topics. So Corn's joining us live from the Capitol now. And Corn, how is the governor feeling about the possibility of seeing this operation start to wind down?
Kelsey and Simone, he is hopeful, but he says he's not counting any chickens before they hatch. He's kind of looking for this exit ramp for ICE operations and trying to wind down the force, but he's also trying to balance these two roles that he has. One of them is kind of serving as an accidental or sometimes intentional lightning rod for negative feelings coming from the Trump administration, and his role as governor and trying to protect Minnesotans by speaking up on their behalf. So right now what he's doing is keeping the lines of communication open with the border czar, Tom Homan, who's here now. He's trying to emphasize that the state prison system already cooperates with ICE detainers and releases violent criminals to ICE when they have served their sentences here in Minnesota. And he's also trying to discuss what a smaller, more targeted operation might look like.
So, Corn, what does that look like? Is the governor offering up any alternatives?
Simone, I specifically asked him if ICE brought him a list of violent criminals that they believe live in Minnesota, would he want the state patrols and local law enforcement to cooperate in getting those people into custody? And he said, absolutely, but that is not what's happening right now. He says he wants a smaller force here. He wants them to have actual targets, and he wants them to go after judicial warrants so they can go make arrests, and they would cooperate with all of that. And so that is essentially what he's looking for in that arena. He's also looking for the state to have a role in the investigations and potential prosecutions that would come out of the investigations into the shooting deaths of Alex Pretti and Renee Good.
And Corn, we know that he and the First Lady visited Pretti's memorial today, and the governor talked to Pretti's parents and co-workers in recent days as well. So is he talking about those conversations? What is he saying?
Yeah, Kelsey, he absolutely gushed about Alex Pretti and what he heard about him when he visited the VA and after talking to his family.
They were obviously
traumatized and heartbroken, but the resolve in their voices, and they said, Governor, what we need you to do is not let them forget who Alex was. The world knows how he died, but you need to tell them who it was. And I went and had sat down for an hour or so with all his colleagues on Monday from the VA, a place that I feel very attached to. And what I had is the resolve of someone who was perfectly comfortable in their skin, someone who was a good son, a good coworker, someone who understood the importance. And what I heard was from his coworkers especially said his moral clarity was like unshakable. He knew right from wrong, and they all said this. They said the minute that woman got pushed down, they knew he was going to put himself in between.
I will also note that the governor said he was very happy to see that one of his musical heroes, Bruce Springsteen, released a song that honors Pretti and Good and the people of Minnesota.
Yeah, that just happening today. Thank you, Corin.
Oh, this is good right here.
Breaking tonight, newly obtained video that shows Alex Pretti fighting with federal agents at a protest in the days before he was fatally shot.
That video now part of the investigation into his death. Fox 9 obtaining the video just a couple of hours ago. We want to bring in Maury Glover in to walk us through what it shows. Maury?
Well, the video shows an incident that happened on January 13th near Powderhorn Park. It reveals a confrontation between Pretti and federal agents more than a week before Pretti was killed. The video begins with a man now identified as Alex Pretti standing in a crosswalk and making an obscene gesture towards federal agents as they get out of an unmarked SUV. One of them grabs Pretti, tackling him to the ground, while other agents pile on. For several seconds, a handful of agents struggle with Pretti on the pavement in front of a crowd of 15 to 20 angry whistleblowing observers. Eventually, Pretti slips out of his coat and returns to the crowd of protesters while they yell at the officers until the agents eventually go back to their vehicles, but not before firing pepper balls to try to clear the crowd. Before the confrontation, videos circulating online show Pretti spitting at and then kicking the taillights out of that unmarked SUV. This 2.5-minute video ends with the federal vehicles leaving the scene without taking Pretti into custody as smoke billows in the intersection.
You okay? You okay? You okay? I'm okay. Are we all okay? Are we all safe?
In a statement, an attorney for Pretti's family says a week before Alex was gunned down in the street, despite posing no threat to anyone, he was violently assaulted by a group of ICE agents. Nothing that happened a full week before could possibly have justified Alex's killing at the hands of ICE on January 24th. Now, CNN is reporting that Pretti suffered a broken rib in that altercation. The Department of Homeland Security says it is aware of the video and it is investigating. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Maury. The 2 Border Patrol agents involved in the shooting death of Alex Pretti have now been placed on administrative leave. That's according to the Department of Homeland Security. This development comes as Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty says that her office continues to gather evidence in all 3 shootings involving federal agents in Minnesota.
I expect to have enough evidence to decide whether charges are appropriate in each of those cases. We have not made a decision about whether charges are appropriate because we want to make sure we have the evidence.
Of the 3 shootings that have happened here, both Alex Pretti and Renee Good were killed in confrontations with agents. Meantime, DHS says that a Venezuelan man in the U.S. illegally was injured while trying to evade arrest. 37-year-old intensive care unit nurse
holding a candlelight vigil for Alex Pretti at 26th and Nicollet. That's where the ICU nurse for the VA was shot and killed by Border Patrol agents last weekend. Our Leon Purvis is there. And Leon, give us a sense for what you're seeing there tonight.
Well, Randy, the vigil had died down, but earlier tonight it was definitely packed here. But just take a look. Some people are still here paying their respects to Alex Pretti. It was a somber moment as many have lit their candles. Many people also emotional as well. Part of the road, actually, it looks like both sides of traffic has reopened up since earlier tonight. But many nurses we spoke to tonight said they see themselves in Alex Pretti as he was a VA ICU nurse at the hospital
helping somebody when they're in need. Like when that lady got pushed down, like no questions asked. We just all feel it in our blood. That's something that we would want to do. We would try to do.
Every single nurse you see here tonight can see themselves in Alex Pretti's shoes and put ourselves in that situation and truly exemplify who he was and who he is. It's in our blood. So I think we see that, and we notice that if we were there that day, we would have done the same thing, and that's why it hits so close to be a nurse right now.
Alex was out just helping somebody like we do every day. We work in the community, and we want to let the community know we're here to take care of them. We don't care where you're from.
Now, the biggest thing that the nurses are asking for something to be done, as they thought it was important to show up for Alex Pretti. We're live in Minneapolis tonight. Leon Purvis.
When the family of people killed in these federal actions send us a statement, the least we can do is air it in full. So I want to share with you the words of Alex Pretti's sister, Michaela. She sent this statement. Alex was kind and generous and had a way of lighting up every room he walked into. He was incredibly intelligent and deeply passionate, and he made people feel safe. But most importantly, his sister said, he was my brother. I had the privilege of being his little sister for 32 years. I will never be able to hug him, laugh with him, or cry to him again because of what happened. Those thugs, she said, and that is a pain no words can fully capture. Alex always wanted to make a difference in this world, and it's devastating that he won't be here to witness the impact he was making. Through his work at the VA, caring for the sickest patients, and passion to advance cancer research, Alex touched more lives than he probably ever realized. All Alex ever wanted was to help someone, to help anyone, actually. Even in his very last moments on this earth, he was simply trying to do just that. My brother is and always will be my hero. So when does this end? How many more innocent lives must be lost before we all say, enough? Hearing disgusting lies spread about my brother is absolutely gut-wrenching, and my family is deeply grateful. So many people have stood up and helped tell his truth. Alex would be very proud. Again, that's a message from his sister, Michaela, sent to share the words that she wanted to share about her big brother, Alex. His parents also sent a statement shortly after the shooting that is worth reading about telling the truth about their son. We're trying. Have a good night. Take care.
She was the one that was out there on Saturday right after, literally minutes after Alex Pretti was shot and alive by those ICE agents. And she had press credentials, and they had to press a line, and the ICE agent kept pushing back, and one shoved her a couple of times and said, hey, don't push me. Don't put your hand on me. I'm pressed. I got credentials. And they pepper spray in the face.
Nationwide impact. We are live from Washington, D.C., where the deadline for a partial government shutdown is now 2 days away as lawmakers debate funding for Homeland Security. Megan McPherson joins us live from the Whipple Federal Building in Minneapolis with more on the back and forth. Megan.
Yeah, good morning. The stalemate on Capitol Hill is being fueled by fallout from the fatal shooting of Alex Pretti last weekend. Now, Senate Democrats have said that they will not vote yes on a spending bill if it includes funding for the Department of Homeland Security. But Republicans have signaled that they will not pull the DHS budget out of this bill. And if both sides can't seem to come to an agreement in the next 3 days, 6 agencies, including the Defense Department, could shut down at 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, and right now all signals are pointing to a shutdown. Now, this also means that just as we saw a few months ago, thousands of federal workers from the Pentagon to air traffic control to TSA could soon feel that impact once again. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says Democrats are prepared to shut down the government to keep funding from Immigration, Customs and Enforcement, or ICE, but the White House so far isn't on board.
Policy discussions on immigration in Minnesota are happening. Look, the president is leading those discussions as evidenced by his correspondence with Governor Walz this morning. But that should not be at the expense of government funding for the American people.
The fix should come from Congress. The public can't trust the administration to do the right thing on its own.
if all Senate Republicans rather vote yes, they will still need to get 8 Democrats to join them in voting yes in order to break that stalemate. On Monday, we talked to Senator Amy Klobuchar, who told us that she will not vote yes unless there are some reforms that Republicans to agree to around immigration enforcement. Back to you.
Yeah. Amy Klobuchar gave a real good speech.
A brand new angle of the lead up and the shooting of Alex Pretti by federal agents. And what you're about to see is video from a woman who was sitting inside her car, mere feet from where this incident happened. This is the first time that we can hear, at least a little bit, what led up to this deadly confrontation. All right, so this is the start of the confrontation. What I hear in the video, which we just received, are 2 men arguing. One is certainly Pretti, the other is an agent. One says, "Do not push them into the traffic." The other responds, "I'm pushing them away from traffic." It's unclear exactly, can't prove exactly who's talking. But this is the first time that we've seen and heard what led up to the violence and just how quickly it unfolds right in front of us here. And as also another view of the agent pushing a woman with the backpack on, and it's still unclear why the agent is pushing her. And you are seeing it through the lens, literally, of a person parked right in front of all this. We also can hear agents yelling the word gun 4 times in roughly 4 seconds leading up to the sound of the first shot. Minutes later, then, she keeps rolling. This panicked woman in the car videotaping, she says that she's scared to an agent who addressed her calmly, calling her ma'am, and saying she has to move to make room for medical there at the scene. Another agent is heard yelling then at the woman in the car and swearing at her for her to leave as she's driving away. The video is about 7 minutes long. The woman moves the car, parks her car in another spot, and then she walks back to the scene to offer a woman who's been pepper sprayed on the ground a water and a warm car. She tells KARE 11 that she does not want to ID herself out of fear. She says the video and the statements were given to the BCA, but she says no one from the federal government has reached out about her video or her testimony or what she witnessed yet.
Yeah, it's always hard to watch those videos. Chris, thank you for breaking it down. Pretti was killed. We've heard from a lot of Democratic lawmakers who are outraged over it. But now there's some Republicans who are also voicing concern. Here's Sammy.
A growing number of Republicans are criticizing the Trump administration's response to the killing of Alex Pretti, who was shot by federal agents. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem addressed the press hours after Pretti's death, whose statements directly conflicted with witness accounts and video.
This individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers committed an act of domestic terrorism. That's the facts.
Senate Republicans Tom Tillis of North Carolina and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska are calling for Noem to step down, citing concerns with a legitimate investigation and Noem's response that goes against video evidence. A few Minnesota Republican politicians are also raising eyebrows.
Today, I announced the end of my campaign.
Chris Mattel, a Minneapolis attorney, dropped out of the governor's race.
I cannot support the National Republicans' stated retribution on the citizens of our state, nor can I count myself a member of a party that would do so.
So my sincere hope was to say, look, Mr. President, we support the enforcement of our laws. We support your immigration policies. But what we're seeing on the ground here in Minnesota, we're seeing things that border on constitutional violations.
This motion. Republican State Senator Julia Coleman wrote a letter to Trump, Governor Walz, and Mayor Fry, asking for more negotiation and de-escalation.
I think Minnesotans are wanting all of our leaders to take a pause on all of this rhetoric and really just focus on getting to the bottom of what happened, getting to the bottom of how we can work together on things, and trying to make Minnesota, well, I guess boring again.
Coleman says she doesn't get the sense Republicans are breaking from Trump, but asking for the two parties to work together.
Both sides, leaders kept political rhetoric at an all-time high.
Amy Fredrickson is a Republican political analyst who said the shift of tone should have happened after the shooting of Renee Good, but more Republicans are feeling braver.
2 Minnesotans are dead, and there is nothing right or political or good about that. There's just 2 Minnesotans dead.
And Jana, we reached out to all 4 Republican U.S. representatives from Minnesota, and they either denied our request or didn't respond, but they all put out statements following the killing of Alex Pretti, and no one blamed Pretti in those statements, but they did blame the Democrats for raising the temperature.
Well, Emily, we've certainly seen a shift, at least from some, in the last several days since Alex's death, so we'll see where that goes, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess the polls are showing.
And stories emerging from Operation Metro Surge in Minneapolis are starting to change voters' opinions on the White House's handling of immigration enforcement overall, according to recent polls. Raya Katene joins us with more on what we're seeing now. Raya?
Julie, this notable change in tone from the Trump administration over the past couple of days comes as polling shows approval ratings for the president on immigration are the lowest they've been since his return to the White House.
You know, the American people are seeing what's happening in real time because it's on everybody's cell phone cameras.
Most Americans do not approve of the way President Donald Trump and his White House are handling immigration. That's according to this poll published this week by Reuters and Ipsos, revealing that most Americans think the ICE crackdown has gone too far.
You can enforce all of the immigration laws on the books without doing it the way ICE and the Border Patrol have done it. And I think that's what Americans are responding to. They're seeing the people of Minnesota just under siege and imagining that could happen in their hometown next.
Ryan McClung is a political analyst and former staffer for Republican Governor Tim Pawlenty. He says while the majority of Americans who voted for Trump are in favor of a strong southern border and deporting people who've committed violent crimes, they do not support such aggressive tactics by federal agents.
Ultimately, it's not really a question of whether or not you think immigration laws should be enforced. It's really how they've gone about it and how some of these top leaders have lied to the American public in the aftermath of these shootings.
The Trump administration is struggling with a credibility gap.
Political science professor Larry Jacobs says while most Americans disapprove of Trump's immigration policy, it's not exactly clear what they'd like to see instead.
When it comes to issues like abolishing ICE, which is getting a lot of attention in Washington, the public is a bit split.
With the midterm elections still 10 months away and the governor's seat up for grabs, both McClung and Jacobs say Republicans will have to shift focus onto issues like fraud and try to regain the public's trust.
Republicans need to speak out, even if it's difficult, even if it puts them at odds with President Trump, because Minnesotans respect authenticity.
So a big question right now is, will this softer tone from the administration and a change in federal leadership here on the ground in Minneapolis actually make a difference for voters? McClung and Jacobs say only
place called Whipple Federal, Whipple. And that's where they're taking the detainees, the people that get arrested or taken into custody, whether they're protesters or they're challenging legal status. When it comes to immigration, they're all taken there. And it's a place where there's been violent protests and clash and interactions, where there's just been standoffs between federal agents and protesters. And I spent a lot of time there, and it was bitterly cold. And what you saw was just the constant presence of protesters. And they were just there day in, day out, during the nighttime, whatever, any hours of the day. And I actually got the chance to speak to a couple of people there that I definitely want to share with you now. The first one is a woman named Sarah. She's a part of an organization, a volunteer organization called Haven Watch. And it was Sarah's time to serve. It was she was up at that time to be able to serve in her role as someone who waits for people to be released, detainees to be released. And oftentimes when they are released from Whipple, they don't have phones, they don't have coats, they don't have money, they don't have any means of being able to communicate with family members or loved ones to be able to get the hell out of Whipple. Haven Watch will meet these people literally as they're coming down the chute, which is like the main entrance and exit of Whipple. And they'll give them a flip phone, cash, hot coffee, food, clothes, a jacket, shoes, whatever. And then they'll give them safe passage to somewhere where they will be okay. And that somewhere could be out of state. And Haven Watch doesn't care. And they do shifts. And it's a purely volunteer thing. And I want you to listen to why Sarah feels like it's so important for her to step up and do what she's doing. So I'm outside of Whipple Federal, and I'm joined here by Sarah from Safe Haven. Sarah, let the viewers know what Safe Haven is doing out here.
We actually changed our name to Haven Watch.
Oh, even better. This is actually an update. Go ahead.
Yes. We realized there was already a nonprofit in the state of Minnesota under that name, so we are Haven Watch.
Gotcha.
Our whole purpose is we are here watching as detainees are released into the cult. It is a combination of protesters who have been arrested and are being detained by ICE, and people who were detained because of their immigration status, but then they realized they are here legally and they are released.
And talk about the conditions, how they're released. It's not like they're like, here, have some hot coffee and let us give you a ride. Talk about what happens when they get out.
So we're standing right in front of the chute that a lot of the ICE vehicles come through, but also that is where most of the releasees are walked down, or they are walked by themselves. They are released from the federal building. They walk out here.
So they're not escorted.
They are not escorted. We are having someone here as much of the day as we can. The busiest time is late afternoon into early evening, but we had someone who was released an hour and a half ago. So we are here. We try to have someone even go across the street and help bring them across.
Have they been letting you guys from Haven Watch go and help them across the street?
They have. And we are the people in the orange vests, and the law enforcement know we're here. So we bring them, we get them into a warm car. We have translators available for people who need that. And then we see if they need a phone. Most protesters' phones are taken as ongoing investigation.
As well as the detainees, obviously, right? The other ones that maybe are mistakenly are taken by immigration status issues.
Some of them actually do have their phones.
Oh, wow.
But unfortunately, when they're held for 45 days, by the time they get out, their phones have been cut off.
Gotcha.
So we are here. We offer them a burner phone. We offer them food immediately if they need any. We offer them a ride home. We've been driving an hour and a half, sometimes different places. We have also helped rent cars for people. So we had someone who was detained from out of state and needed a way home. So we rented them actually a truck because ICE has most of the cars in the state currently.
Have the people that have been released from detention and custody here at Whipple Federal, have they described the conditions inside when they've been held there?
Yes, just that most of it is that they're really cold. They are not given blankets. They are sleeping on floors, and the food they're given is cold. They're just cold overall, and it's cold here.
Yeah, we can tell. And another question that I have for you is this. You're just a volunteer. You're not getting paid to do this. This is not your full-time job. Why is it so important to be able to be a part of Haven Watch?
I have a 20-year-old son we adopted from Ethiopia as a baby, and I'm terrified for him every day. He goes to school in St. Paul, and I have to have conversations with him like, you can't go to Target by yourself anymore. You have to either have us bring you groceries, or you can go to a small local grocery store where I know you're safer, and it's tearing me apart.
And you felt compelled to come out here and contribute in some way.
Yeah, and these are people who are here legally that are being released, and their families are being torn apart. They're holding them for 45 days. And most families can't afford to miss paycheck after paycheck. So when they're released, their lives are sometimes ruined. And so we're doing as much as we can to then expand what we're doing from here into supporting them as they are going back and trying to reestablish their lives.
One of the most amazing things that I've seen since I've been here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, is the level of community organization. Talk about why part of the work that you're doing, you're hoping is going to be sending a message to others to get involved and to step up and take action.
Well,
Hank, remember when I said I was going to tackle
action?
Well, we are a state of caring for each other, and there's just so much we can all step up and do right now, and figuring out each of our own niches. Like, not everyone needs to be out here doing this, but we can all do something, and if everybody does a little bit, we can make huge differences.
You talked about a man that was just released about an hour and some change ago. Can you talk about what his condition, his physical condition was like when he got out?
He walked down, and his coat was in his bags. He was not allowed to put on his coat before he came out.
Wow.
And he had it with him, at least. Not everyone even has one. He had been blowing a whistle in South Minneapolis. The side of his face was all scraped up, and it was for blowing a whistle.
And what did he say was the excuse that they gave to be able to take him into custody?
That he was impeding their investigations.
Unbelievable. And he's somebody who lives around here, like as in is like a local kind of person.
It was his block. He was blowing a whistle at his house. He was warning his neighbors.
And they took him into custody, they arrested him?
Yes. They detained him.
They're being very careful about the action verbs that they're using.
Yes.
Not arrested, but detained.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Sarah, your organization, Haven Watch, is there a way that people can help? Even if they're not even here, is there a way for them to learn more and to help you guys out?
Yep, we have started a Facebook page of Haven Watch. We have a GoFundMe, we have a Venmo, and we have surpassed anything we ever thought we could. We're in the process of becoming a nonprofit, so we can do continued support to some of these families. I have personally, I can't share too many details.
No, of course,
but
of course.
Of a family that they took the mom and dad, and the kids were left behind, and they lost their home while their parents were being detained. And
how old were the kids, though?
Teenagers.
And they were just left without their parents?
Yes, and were evicted from their apartment. And so we can we can continue to support some of these people as they're trying to reestablish their lives. And these are people who are here legally. They're ruining their lives for no reason.
If you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a little bit more about your son.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with somebody yesterday who was talking about how the fabric of the community is being torn apart and how really the celebration of being in a beautiful place with immigrants is being ruined by what's happening with this occupation of the Twin Cities. What is your son saying about being 20 years old and seeing this happen in real time?
Well, so my kids, we live in a suburb, but actually went to preschool in South Minneapolis. They went to preschool 2 blocks from where George Floyd was murdered. So the continued trauma from the Twin Cities is a lot. And for him specifically, a few days, that was his safe place, going to the parks right there that were then turned into graveyards of people who have been murdered. Their headstones were there. So now, and he dealt with COVID, and now he's dealing with all of this, and he's a 20-year-old who sometimes thinks he's invincible, so it is hard to deal with all of this and trying to make him understand that what needs to happen for his safety. So
it's got to be so hard as a mom, but as a fellow mom, as a fellow American, and as a human, I want to say thank you to you and to Haven Watch for everything that you're doing. Everybody who's tuning in and watching is sending support and love to you and this community. And thank you so much for explaining what's happening, because it's really abhorrent the way they're treating people here. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing light to this. And we just want to help people. No one should be treated like that. And it doesn't even matter if you are legal or not legal. These are people. These are human beings. And the fact that we're just doing this and acting like they're a body or a
number or something
is just, it's horrible. These are our family, our friends, our neighbors. These are people we should be supporting and not just tearing apart without a second thought. It's so heartbreaking.
Well, thank you for being in the fight. And I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next up is this guy named Dustin. I first noticed Dustin because he was wearing this bright neon green vest, and on the back it said, "Don't shoot," which sounds outrageous. And yet, if you think about it, not outrageous. In fact, really protective, right? Because of everything that's been going on. And when you look at Dustin, he's a big, strapping guy, and he was loud, and he was one of the loudest people shouting at the people going in and out of Whipple, the employees or whatever, right? He definitely wasn't shouting at the people that are on our side. And Dustin was the one who was kind of giving me the inside track and the inside scoop and kind of getting me caught up to speed on everything that's been going on at Whipple. He had been there since like 10 a.m. that morning. And when I first encountered him, it was in the afternoon. It was maybe like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So he had been out there in the bitter cold shouting. And what was remarkable is, and what you're going to hear, Dustin, as someone who is a native of the area in Minneapolis, who's raising a family there, he's boiling over. He's boiling over with anger and fear and sadness and frustration, and it's so understandable. And I want you to listen to what he has to say, because it was so compelling to see this measure of emotion from Dustin and to hear him explain why they just need and they want ICE to be out.
Solo Mio in theaters February 6th. Buonasera, signore. Hey.
They just need and they want ICE to be out of their community. Hey folks, I'm Katie Fang. I'm outside of Whipple Federal, and I'm joined by Dustin from Minneapolis. Dustin has actually been my rabbi since I've gotten here. He has been letting me be informed. There's a lot of activity, man. Talk about what you've been seeing in terms of the pick of activities here.
So I got here at about 10 a.m. and shortly after I got here, there's a drone hanging over the guard shack, probably about 300 feet in the air.
Yeah.
They put that up, and the federal police presence has doubled since I've been here. And then it's just been a huge influx of in and out by ICE agents.
I feel like there's been a lot of vehicle traffic, even right now, since you and I have been talking in just like a minute or so. There's been constant. Is that normal, or does that seem a little bit crazy?
It's pretty crazy today, honestly. It's I was here yesterday, and there was not even a quarter of this traffic. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So Dustin, you and I are talking about maybe Tom Homan's on his way here. Is that what we think?
So yeah, that's kind of my assumption, because what is about 1 o'clock, him and Governor Walz had a meeting at the state capitol. So I'm assuming they put up the drone and all the other stuff, and we got a chopper hovering over us and everything.
Hearing it, we just don't see it, right?
And so my assumption is Homan's on his way.
So you also were teaching me some other stuff, Dustin, about the fact that some of these federal agents, they've parked themselves in a way, and they're not getting out of the car. They're watching us from across the street.
Correct, yeah. So, I believe it's the federal police, the base police are watching us. And, I mean, we got...
Well, they haven't gotten out. I can see them, man. They're looking at us across the street.
Yeah, they won't get out of their vehicle. But I don't know why they're doing that. But if it's an intimidation factor, it's definitely not working.
Well, speaking of, some of the people, when they're driving in, they have their faces covered when they're driving by. They're literally driving the cars with their masks on.
Yes, yeah. So they actually do that everywhere. They don't uncover for their face unless they're, I would assume, inside the Whipple building. They've been hiding their identity.
And some of there's some more. Yeah, there's some more people coming in right now. Justin, kind of quickly, let me ask you, also, when we've seen some people driving in, they've also been using their camera phones to be recording us when they've been driving in.
Yeah, so we have been talking about that. They've been recording us and intimidating us and mocking us and all that stuff. And we've seen one, it was a huge professional camera. We're assuming it's facial recognition software to see if we are legal or not.
Justin, why is it so important to be out here across in this cold? It is cold, my friend, out here. Why is it so important to be expressing how you feel?
If we don't do it, if we don't have our voices raised, who's gonna raise their voices for these people? It's our responsibility to stand in solidarity with everybody, whether they're legal or not.
This is your city, too. How do you feel about having this federal invasion in your city?
I'm pissed off. I'm very pissed off. I had spent countless nights, instead of sleeping, sitting there just raging and just crying, and I can't take this anymore. It's got to stop. It has to stop.
And your thoughts about the fact that in the span of 2.5 weeks, 2 people were murdered on the streets of your city?
Sad. It's very sad, and it's pretty sad. When I left the house this morning, my youngest daughter, who's 12, was crying. She hugged me.
Oh, man.
She said, "Dad, make it home tonight." And I said, "I'll do my best."
So she's scared that if you're coming out here that you may not make it home?
Yes, because I'm out here. I'm providing medical aid for anybody that's hurt. I carry naloxone on me for anybody overdosing. I took a couple of medical courses so that I can offer street aid, anything for the people. I deliver food, whatever I can do.
Justin, can you turn around for a second so people can see your vest on the back? So, folks, it says peaceful observer, don't shoot. Dustin, the fact that you have to wear a vest, that's telling people that are in law enforcement not to shoot you. What do you think about that?
It's sad. It's sad that a impromptu press person as myself, I had to go through a little bit of training, has to wear something like this so that we don't get messed up, so that we don't die or get hurt. And honestly, I think it's making us a target.
And the idea that Tom Homan is subbing in for Gregory Bovino, do you really think it makes that much of a difference?
No, it's probably going to get worse, honestly.
Why do you think that?
Because it's all under Trump, and Trump is very one-minded.
Your thoughts about the fact that Governor Walz was having the sit-down? You think they're going to make any headway to try to bring some peace to your cities?
I know Walz has his citizens interested in his best interests, so yes, I think there should be some headway, but it's not over yet. This is just beginning.
Justin, thank you for being out here, for fighting for democracy, for using your voice. I think if everybody does that, then we're going to all be heard. But I appreciate everything you're doing, my friend. And I will pray for you and your safety, and I will think of your daughter, okay?
Thank you very much.
Alrighty, my friend. Thanks for being here. Katie Fang here.
But wait, there's more. There's always more, baby. I got a real quick one right here. Check this out. ICE agents saying they will deport you regardless if you're American. I kid you not. ICE agent with mask on says legal or illegal, you will get deported. And they're even saying that if you are a true American, your family is born as American, you still will be deported.
If there's somebody or gentleman or whoever's from the UK and they look like her, they will get arrested as well, and they'll get deported. On the sidewalk being peaceful? It's simple. It's straight simple. They can look like me, you, her, him. If you're legal or illegal, you'll get deported.
Wow. All right, let's get out of here on this one. Here's a good one right here. Oh, baby. Good one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, turn your speakers up to 11, Jews. Here we go. Yep. In memory of Renee and Nicole Good and Alex Pretti. With that said, I'm out here, much out. Peace out. Fuck eyes, fuck them all, abolish them all, baby. It's not around it. Happy fucking ICE Agents Day.